We have to find somebody that'll work with us that has dealt in the dirtiest of dirty business. We're losing.
Diddy's once unshakable legacy is now wobbling as 50 Cent unleashed hard-hitting audio that detonated online, sparking non-stop buzz and driving speculation into overdrive. The spotlight instantly swung to 50, with fans and critics alike questioning just how deep his vault really goes. As momentum builds around his forthcoming Netflix docuseries, Sean Combs' The Reckoning, he's made it clear the public has only seen the surface, signaling that far bigger disclosures are lined up. By his account, this saga is nowhere near finished, and what's still to come could flip the entire storyline, locking the audience in suspense and demanding attention.
Is there other stuff that you just have not shown?
Yeah, well, everything couldn't make was 4 episodes.
Right.
So it was a lot. You had to pick and choose things, like even in an area where he chooses to date people who he knows previously dated someone. He has a baby by a woman that was dating Tupac.
Wow.
To add to it, but we had to cut it down so we could.
For time.
Yeah.
So are you coming out? I know next year is going to be a number 2, season 2.
I just put it on YouTube.
I just put it on YouTube.
50 Cent has now signaled that additional Diddy-related audio may surface publicly on YouTube, placing the material instantly before a massive global audience. Yet the real jolt isn't just the possibility of new releases, it's the growing claim that Diddy attempted to improperly influence a juror, an accusation that has sent social media into a frenzy. As the situation continues to develop, new information tied to this allegation is beginning to emerge, and it has the potential to become the most serious and damaging twist so far, keeping the world locked in suspense and watching every move closely.
Recording it. Well, Diddy was recording it because he thought he was about to beat the case. So he wanted to do a Netflix documentary. Didn't pay the guy, and then 50 got all 140 hours of footage of secret Diddy tactics. Well, there's a guy named Neil who was mentioned in the court, works right up under Diddy, was organizing everything. Allegedly, they are saying that he is on video, film, tampering with witnesses, giving out addresses, offering money, bribing, we'll pay for your lawyers, all kind of shit that could be counted as witness tampering, obstruction of justice. And 50, of all people, has his hands on this footage. And I'm hearing that this could implicate Diddy's lawyers in some bullshit. They could be charged. This shit is getting wild. And I'm hearing that this 50 Cent documentary is just the fucking tip of the iceberg.
This guy in this video said one specific name, and it was Neil, and it automatically made me think of Neil Dominique. Everything that we just covered the other day that came out from Diddy's former chef, Jordan, who was going to be a witness testifying against Diddy in the criminal trial. You remember, she just took to her Instagram calling out Neil Dominique, saying that he was basically the one to give Diddy information that she was testifying to the grand jury. She has been claiming for a while, when she testified to this grand jury on April 2nd of 2024, just 2 weeks later, Diddy's attorney would text her saying, "Dear Chef Jordan, this is Aaron Dyer. I'm Sean Combs' attorney. I left you a voicemail last week, but wanted to follow up. I have been told you have been contacted by law enforcement and might want an attorney to represent you." So that man in this video was basically saying that 50 Cent has video footage of Diddy talking to these people and setting this up to go after.
The most staggering twist is that 50 Cent isn't dodging the rumors, he's owning them outright. As whispers grew louder, he revealed he's holding an enormous archive, claiming more than 140 hours of recordings, then cemented it publicly with a blunt online declaration. "Yes, I have the footage," a single line that sent shockwaves racing across the internet. That confirmation alone rattled the landscape. But he pushed further, openly explaining why he decided to challenge Diddy head-on, transforming what once sounded like idle talk into a calculated, high-pressure confrontation that escalates with every bold move he makes.
Russ is telling us as clear as I don't have any reserve, like the fear that they would actually have towards him. I don't think he's special.
Now, the tide has clearly turned, as individuals who once declined to participate in earlier projects are stepping forward, motivated by confidence in 50 Cent and no longer feeling compelled to stay quiet. That change alone says everything. with previously unheard voices emerging from the background and adding serious credibility to a narrative that continues to build force. As more people choose to speak, the story grows heavier, more convincing, and impossible to ignore, tightening its grip on public attention and driving momentum even higher.
There's a lot of people in this docuseries that wasn't in the previous docs that you saw because they said, no, I'm gonna do that one because 50, that's gonna be the big one. Because I'm not scared of none of that. Like, I think it's just the way I was brought up. I don't really register those things. I've been through way more extreme things than these people. I look at the project, it's just another project to me, and they can look and create reasoning for it. It could be their personal take on why it's the way it is, but if they watch the docuseries itself, they'll understand it's been done tastefully and it is the best version of a docuseries that you'll see on this. Well, he is a big part of the culture. Like he's a respectable. He made it to a respectable position within culture. Any smart person would pick their fights. And you say, I don't really get anything out of it. It's not my business anyway, so why say something about it? Like the docuseries is me putting together people who had different experiences and letting them tell their truth, right? And a lot of things come out that make clarity for you in a different way to it. But I only was comfortable saying stuff about him because I've been saying it for 20 years. I've said it since that day. I'm like, what? Nah.
One of the biggest moments for him was securing footage from Diddy's final days before his arrest and indictment. Watching that raw material for the first time was an explosive, shocking experience, according to 50.
That was really fascinating.
A journalist would ask that, but a journalist would also say, I'm going to keep my sources secure. But I got it, though. They can blame it on me. That is that. I think he's going to actually like the project. He's going to see that it was done fair, the perspective. Because he's going to see too many people or he'll be consumed by what his personal experience was with each individual that's saying things about him because he lived these things. She's going to understand it. You can interview her following that and I'll do the interview with her. I'll make sure I put it together. Yeah, because I had communications with her to understand it. What's going on, and even though she's not in the docuseries, it was important I spoke to her to understand how things transpired. The husband, I spoke to him away from her, separate individual communications, and then see things kind of match up. Like when people say things, I go, "Oh, okay, I hear what you said," but when you hear things multiple times from people, different people, it kind of rings true to you. He got old real fast. His hair was jet black. Like mine, and the next day he was like a full. All I saw from was the raccoon pictures from the courtroom. When they drew him, it was looked like a raccoon.
A defining moment hit when 50 Cent secured footage from Diddy's final days before his arrest and formal charges, a development that immediately reshaped the entire story. Those who've seen the raw, unfiltered material describe it as intense and deeply disturbing, with an impact that's impossible to dismiss. According to 50 himself, that footage marked the true turning point, transforming the project from a standard documentary into a forceful, high-impact exposé, one that commands attention and refuses to be overlooked.
You and Wolf, I got y'all tickets to LA. I said, all right, cool. So I go down there and I pick up the tickets to LA. I got Wolf ticket. So I'm calling Wolf up. I say, yo, Wolf, I got your ticket to go to LA. And Wolf said, I ain't going. I said, what you mean you ain't going? He said, yo, Gene, I ain't gonna tell you how I'm making I ain't gonna tell you how to make your money, but I'm gonna let you know this. I told Puff them if they wasn't gonna take 2 tour buses of my niggas out there with us, I'm not going. Wolf is the head of all the functions that has to do with Puff dealing with security. I have my own contract with Puff, yeah. Paul Paul Alford ran Green Gate Security, which is the daily operations of Puff stuff. That's his house, his cars, his transportation. He ran the office, the bad boy office, the clothing, all that shit. He ran the daily operation with his security. Wolf is over whatever's happening with Puff. You understand? Wolf tells Puff them and tell Kirksboro them, no, if y'all not going out there right, nobody should go out there at all.
50 Cent has stepped back into focus, wielding what he trusts most: documented evidence, making it clear this isn't petty rivalry, but a precise exposure built over years of quiet preparation. He stressed that without records at this scale, you're simply not operating on his level, while also shedding light on why certain people close to Diddy chose silence for so long. After methodically collecting material behind the scenes, he struck at the exact right moment, and with Diddy now under intense legal strain and losing control of the narrative, efforts to discredit the project have fallen flat. Even skeptics acknowledge that lingering debates around past controversies, including those tied to Anthony Wolf Jones, add further complexity, fueling a documentary that continues to grow sharper, louder, and impossible to dismiss.
Wolf did not and was not going anywhere that had to do with California. And it wasn't because of the Jake situation. It was that he wanted to be safe, and the only way he felt safe if he was going out there with the dudes from his clique. And that was the Valley Mob. That's the only way. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And people they didn't even put that in the documentary. Wolf ended up losing his life behind Puff and his bullshit. And that bullshit was with BMF. That's a big segment in my book that I wrote that whole shit. I wrote a whole big situation in my book regarding that, man. And I know you're doing this. I want to say that right there because I was there the night that Meech had promised Puff, you know what I'm saying? He ain't have to worry about Suge Knight. He ain't have to worry about nobody from this point on. And telling Puff some shit like that made him think that he could talk to Wolf any kind of way. Because if anybody knew, BMF was powerful back then. They had dudes from everywhere. And Meech telling him he ain't have to worry about nobody no more, it made Puff think that he could tell Wolf that he didn't need Wolf no more. And one thing led to the next.
A grim and overlooked truth remains. Wolf died while performing high-risk duties to protect Diddy, a fact Gene Deal argues cannot be brushed aside. He has pointed out that this entire chapter was excluded from the documentary, along with Wolf's wider influence and key connections, stripping away context that could significantly reshape public understanding. Gene maintains that leaving out these elements weakens the integrity of the narrative. Because Wolf was far more than a peripheral presence, he played a pivotal role in the unfolding events, and his actions and ultimate fate deserve serious, honest consideration in any credible account of what truly transpired.
Aragos, who is my co-host on Two Angry Men, he's represented Diddy for years, and his daughter is part of the Agnifilo defense team. And he was involved in all of this. So in this past weekend's podcast, I pushed him to find out how Agnifilo really feels here. And Mark kind of skirted it some, but I think you get the sense. Diddy knew that Mark was being recorded, but Diddy didn't tell Mark. Does Mark feel betrayed by Diddy?
I've not talked to Mark about it.
What do you think?
Would feel.
What do you think?
I will tell you I'll just tell you, if it was me, I would be more than a little upset. I was more than a little upset when the client didn't know and I was being recorded. I mean, there was a while there where I was meeting clients under bridges, freeway bridges, because I was PTSD over it. So I think as a lawyer, it is one of the most inviolate oaths that you take to protect the client confidentiality and the client privilege. So I don't know. I haven't talked to Mark, but if I were Mark, I would be out of my head.
Out of my head.
It's incredible. Diddy did two things here. Number one, he betrayed Mark Agnifilo, who, to your point, did so much for him. Obviously, without Mark Agnifilo, may very well be spending the rest of his life in prison. The second thing that he did is, by having a third party that's privy to the conversation, the videographer in this case standing there, there's no privilege, right? Diddy waived that entire privilege. Now, it didn't end up backfiring because it seems nobody knew about it until the end of trial. And what are you going to do at this point? But it's such a callous act by Diddy to just sell out his lawyer like that. It's so selfish.
Gene's message is unmistakable. Wolf's death was neither accidental nor a minor detail. It was deeply connected to power struggles within the industry and decisions made at the highest levels, and it warranted far more scrutiny than it received. At the same time, reports suggest Diddy and his family are weighing an enormous defamation lawsuit rumored to approach $1 billion. Yet, as 50 Cent has pointed out, attempting to disprove the documentary could invite even harsher examination. The legal pressure continues to intensify, with drawn-out battles and non-stop legal representation rapidly consuming resources, regardless of wealth, particularly when new income streams are limited. Compounding the situation, Diddy is now facing serious backlash over claims that private conversations with legal counsel were recorded without consent, an allegation that strikes at the core of trust and raises troubling questions about the integrity of attorney-client confidentiality.
Officially on the stand for 20 minutes. She will continue on Monday, but before I tell you what she testified to, I do want to give you a warning that she does talk about violence and abuse. Started off with Dawn testifying that she was working with Diddy from 2004 until 2011. She opens up about an incident she witnessed in 2009 when she went to Diddy's home in order to record. She said her and Cassie were downstairs when they heard Diddy yelling and coming down saying, "Where the F are my eggs?" He said Diddy grabbed the skillet full of eggs and tried to hit Cassie on the head, and she went down in a fetal position. He was punching and kicking Cassie before he put his arm around her neck. Diddy then grabbed her by the hair and dragged her up the stairs, and she was in shock. He said she was so in shock she did not intervene, nor did she call the police. Next day, she said Diddy locked her and another person in the recording studio and threatened them. In her own words, he said what we saw was what lovers in passionate relationships do. He said Cassie was okay and it would be in our best interest if we didn't say anything. He claims that Diddy then said he was trying to get them to the top of the industry before threatening them by saying where he comes from, people go missing if they talk. Then after all of that, he got them flowers. Prosecutor then asked, "How did you understand that?" And she said, "Death." His attorney yelled objection, and then they had a sidebar. That's when attorneys from both sides will come up to the judge and whisper between one another and nobody else can hear.
If she witnessed, and she's saying that she witnessed a gangbang, which actually we know it as called a train. And she worked on the album, The Train to Paris. And like I heard one of the YouTube, it could be Tistel, say that we didn't know what the train to Paris meant. But now we know that the train of Paris was a train in Scotland, according to Dawn. It wasn't a train in Paris, it was a train in Scotland. Now, only time I ever witnessed Puff doing something is when two guys and two girls will go in the room. And that was just regular. And however they did it, whatever they did, that was their business. But he gotten bold enough, whereas that he would do that in front of Dawn and other people at a poolside in Scotland. You sure it was Scotland, man?
Yeah, that's what she said, man.
Scotland, Arizona, but not Scotland, the country.
Nah, she talking about the country, man.
Wow. I just think that, man, you got to go back to the drugs and the alcohol, man. The drugs and the alcohol, man. And those things that make you do strange things. And for somebody to, to gang banging an assistant, she might have a lawsuit now too. She might have a lawsuit too. Because you can't do that to people that work for you, bro.
The series escalates further by incorporating audio from a 2008 proffer interview with Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, who is currently awaiting trial in connection with the 1996 death of Tupac Shakur, adding a heavy and controversial dimension to the narrative. As outlined in the documentary, a proffer allows an individual to provide information to investigators under limited legal safeguards without offering full immunity. In the recording, Davis gives a detailed account, alleging that Diddy was involved in arranging the attack in exchange for a substantial payment claims that have once again ignited intense public debate. While these assertions remain unproven and have not been established in court, their inclusion sharply raises the stakes, shifting the series from a cultural investigation into a tense, unsettling examination of unresolved history and allegations that have lingered for decades.
He even said that, like, in retrospect, that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to Puffy. By Zip stealing the money, now Puffy isn't connected to that shit. Or else it would have been like a murder for hire or something, you know what I'm saying?
The FBI said Zip.
So the FBI told you the same
he was
thing.
a dirty motherfucker, yeah.
So the FBI told you that Zip kept that money as well.
They said Zip's a dirty motherfucker. Everybody crossed you. You're the last one to know every fucking thing. Even lawyers, your friends.
None of this proves Diddy's guilt, not even close. A single interview or proffer cannot establish responsibility or confirm wrongdoing on its own, but it can add context when weighed alongside other claims, records, and findings. Statements from individuals accused of involvement are not definitive evidence, yet they function as fragments of a much larger picture, one that investigators, journalists, and the public continue to examine as the wider narrative slowly comes into focus.
I did. Shit. If I wouldn't have never met him, I would have never been involved in this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? If I would have never met the brother, I would have never been involved in this bullshit. Really. Because me and Suge was playing on the same Pop Warner team and everything. My homeboys helped put Suge in the game and all that shit, you know? And it really crashed two people Empire that fucking one night. You know what I'm saying? Mine's for sure. Suge's too. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, man. So you feel like Puffy, he's the reason for your empire and Suge empire going down because of the whole situation with Tupac.
Exactly. He the only one still balling. Shit. Yeah, he made our shit go down, man. Yeah, I ain't even met him over. He won't even look out or nothing. You know?
So break that down, man, for the people out there that don't know the backstory. What did Puffy do exactly to break down y'all empires?
Because he pitted us against each other. Seemed like he pitted us against each other. You know, which was kind of smart because we're Crips and Suge was Bloods. Like, you know what I'm saying? He just called one. Me and Zip was rolling up Greenleaf one night. He called and asked, "You think it's safe to come out here to do our concerts?" And I just said, "Man, give me like 50 tickets to each concert, and we'll be out there with you. We'll go with you." We went to the concert in San Diego, went to the concert in Anaheim, Irvine Meadows, and the one in Las Vegas with them. Yeah, and back then they was just a startup coming up. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really have no money like that. We were balling. We was the bosses.
The documentary also looks back at Diddy's early years, exploring his upbringing, his bond with his mother, and influential relationships that helped shape his path, some of which were marked by significant challenges and allegations. It examines his mentality and conduct as he rose through the music industry, emphasizing ambition, control, and strategic decision-making. Instead of relying on speculation, this portion connects formative experiences and personal dynamics to the public persona and level of influence he eventually commanded at the height of his career.
This is a young man who grew up with street-funded privilege. After his father passed away, it's very clear that his mother kept on hustling and kept hanging around hustlers. Tim Dog has described the parties in the house: pimps, hoes, hustlers, models, basketball players. You got that kind of crowd. There's got to be a drug dealer or so there. Alcohol everywhere. There was a stage built in the living room, and they were asked to perform as kids. I mean, like, this is how he grew up. It was almost if he was designed to throw the parties that we'll later hear about. From the white parties to the parties overseas, with very, 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 very interesting things happening there, all the way to the freak-offs. It's like Sean Combs was in a never-ending party his whole life. Now, from a boy being draped in chinchilla to a boy running around the streets promoting parties, interning for Andre Harrell before he got a paid position. I mean, his life was like a whirlwind. It was almost like he was in too much of a rush to grow up. I mean, even the way Andre Harrell said he bullied his way into his home, coming up with some story about a fight between him and Janice and how he couldn't live with his mom anymore. And the next thing you know, he's living with Andre. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. In my opinion, I do not believe they were just roommates. I do not believe this was just a mentor-mentee relationship. In my opinion, from rumors that I've heard, from some things that might have been lost along the way, there was a much closer relationship between Andre and Puffy.
The series ultimately highlights a troubling pattern. Time and again, Diddy appears entangled in high-stakes, legally delicate, and emotionally volatile situations, yet repeatedly emerges without lasting repercussions, prompting serious questions about how and why this cycle endured. Viewed collectively, these elements don't present a simplistic villain narrative, but instead sketch a far more complex figure, one shaped by unresolved conflicts, immense power, and far-reaching influence, who may have knowingly allowed destructive patterns to continue around him. While these claims remain allegations, the overall portrait is one of persistent controversy, accountability long postponed, and a system strained by the consequences of prolonged, unchecked authority.